I was just at a really big low point. I was strung out on meth, and I wrecked my buddy's car. He didn't have insurance. We were 5 months late on rent. We were getting evicted, lost my job. And I just went like, life sucks, Like, if this is what life is, like, why do you have me here?
I did. Before I went to Italy, I spent a month on Duolingo.
One get closer, and then you let them assault through and sidewalk, or they read your license. So I think how do you do the guns and stuff? I'm not saying the photos they're in the spot. They have to make their career preservation.
Everyone crowded in around your house. Everyone's done one that says, whenever you're ready for a stand on the other person as well.
Oh yeah, this is from the club.
Yeah, the Thompson Club.
Fictitious societal norms. They make it feel like it's not masculine to talk about your problems, to express how you feel. You're supposed to bottle it all up inside and not, tell anybody. You're supposed to be a man. My marriage wasn't doing too good, and I had resentment towards my mother for things that she said to my wife. And I didn't get to say goodbye, or rather, I chose not to say goodbye before my mother passed away. And then my wife and me separated shortly after, and it tore me to pieces. And without going into any detail, I was ready to end my life, and I finally asked a friend for help.
I want to know who thinks like me. I want to network with those people. I want to create alliances. I want to set up a network of relationships that we can support each other if and when things go wrong. And if they don't, then I've got a brotherhood of great people around me. So that's why I'm here this weekend.
To just go explore the north.
Those radios don't mean nothing.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You gotta jump on the open airways. You just need some decent. I mean, you don't even have
What have I changed? Obviously, it's been bad for a while, but now it's like really, really bad.
Being a man is very difficult, especially in today's world. Being any kind of human is difficult, but in particular, men face unique, specific challenges, and we don't have an instruction manual that tells us exactly how to navigate through that. It's very difficult to do that kind of unguided, unstructured journey, and to do it alone, and to not have people in your life who understand what you're going through. You always have family and friends and coworkers and the such, but they don't really know the burdens you carry as a man as intimately as you do. And just at the end of a long, hard day, struggling with all the various struggles of life, being able to have a brother next to you who's also gone through his own version of that, and he knows on some level what you just went through, even if you just sat there in silence, I think a lot of men would agree that that would be so helpful. And so going through life without even that little tiny relief, that little tiny support system that would help so much, is very difficult and it's very lonely. And I think most men are falling into the trap of replacing that or trying to fill that hole with digital vices, whether it's online gambling or pornography or drugs, whatever it is, which only makes the problem much worse and exacerbates the loneliness that they feel. So I think this is just a vicious cycle. Men become more lonely, their loneliness drives them to do more of those behaviors, which continues to make them even more lonely. I think men, broadly speaking, generalizing here, tend not necessarily to be as focused on the social, perhaps, as our female counterparts are. Women intuitively know that they need that support system, and they face very different challenges than we do, of course, equally, if not more difficult, but they also make up for that by building that support system for themselves with their fellow women. We tend to not index on that social element as much as men. And so right off the bat, we're at a disadvantage because we're not even trying to seek that out. For those of us who do try to seek that out, it's equally difficult because the other men that you try to talk to and connect with may not be on the same level as you. They're not as socially aware. They're not as socially prepared and ready to engage with you on that level. Men are less trusting in general. We're always hyper aware of threats. That's our mode, right? We're worried about, how is this guy going to be a threat to me? What is he up to? So to try to open up and share that vulnerability or put yourself in that vulnerable position is not at all natural for men. So that makes it very, very difficult for us to try to establish those connections. Before I was married to my current beautiful wife, I was married before, and she was a lovely person, but it just was not meant to be for the two of us, and we ended up getting divorced, and this was at a very young age. I did not have the necessary network or support system of men around me who would help push me to take on the masculine challenges that would help me to lift myself out of that rut. And so I ended up falling into that vicious cycle of loneliness and despair, again, because of not having that network. So it took a lot longer to lift myself out of that because I had to do it alone. I had to stumble along the way, make a lot of mistakes, fall into traps that probably could have been avoided if I just had that network of men, somebody to say, hey, bro, I know you're hurting. Let's not even talk about this. Let's just go hit the gym. Let's go for a run. Let's just sit and smoke a cigar, whatever it may be. Going through that alone is very difficult. And again, having other people in your life that have the best intentions, like a mother or a sister or a female coworker or what have you, they're not able to provide. It's through no fault of their own, but they're not able to provide exactly the type of support that a man needs. My faith has played an absolutely pivotal role in my journey. I wouldn't know who I am without it. I don't know if I could define to you who I am without using the word God or faith or religion. And I'm ashamed to say that although I was born to my faith, in my 20s I wavered away from it to just chase a path of degeneracy and lunacy even. And only after having my children did it become immediately clear to me that the truth, that God is real and that he wants certain things from me. And that immediately guided me to walk an upright path. And suddenly I had my instruction manual. Men do not do well in stagnant conditions. This is how we grow. This is how we engage our brains and evolve. This is how we get better, is through challenge. I think it's probably why men much more naturally gravitate to things like video games, say, than women, because video games provide that sort of gamified challenge, that leveling up, even though it's digital and artificial and fake. That's just how our brains are wired. We like that struggle. We like to overcome it. We all play that hero in our head, whether it's Odysseus or Achilles or whoever, whatever historical figure that we want to emulate in our lives, being that central role model, male archetype figure, the hero. The hero's story is full of nothing but struggle and challenge. It's not an easy story. They're subjected to some sort of trauma usually in their life. They lose a parent, or some war kills their spouse or their children or something like that, and they struggle and struggle and struggle and eventually overcome it, and they become the hero. And I think as men, deep down in our internal wiring, our ones and zeros, that's how we're designed. I've taken a much more active interest in my desire to give back and share what wisdom God has bestowed upon me. I've been very blessed in my life. I've been very lucky and fortunate to have God give me many blessings, much wisdom, much success, whether it's in career or relationship or beautiful, healthy children. And I've learned a lot through that time, often through other people who were sharing that wisdom with me. And being a part of this community gives me the opportunity to pay that back and to provide it forward to other guys who are maybe younger, or maybe they haven't been fortunate enough to be given that knowledge and that wisdom. And ever since joining our ModX community, I've become much more interested in making that a central role of my life. Before this, I never really saw myself as a mentor or a tutor, for lack of a better word. Ever since joining this community, it's become something I aspire to. If I can even help one man in this community improve their life somehow because of some knowledge I shared or some wisdom I shared, that would be an enormous success. And I would be very grateful for that opportunity.
I think my hardest season of my life was when I was transitioning from my teenage years to an adult man. I grew up without a father. I grew up with a lot of abuse in my home. Literally every abuse categorization you'd like to make, like that happened in my home. I grew up angry. I grew up confused. I grew up in a Christian home, which is very weird to connect those two, to say that I grew up that way and then say it was a Christian home, because that doesn't match. And so that made me very angry growing up and becoming my own person, and so that, to me, that time frame, I was trying to figure out who I was, what my purpose was in my life. I got strung out on drugs really bad in my really early 20s. Every single substance you can imagine, I tried. And I tried for extended periods of time, because I just wanted to escape myself. I didn't like me. I didn't like how my life was going. I wasn't proud of who I was. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. And I tried to run from it through all the substances that the world could give me, because I just never had somebody teach me how to work on my character. I didn't have that great example of a man in my life. And, there was a lot of things that happened in my home that made me very angry. I didn't have answers for them. And yeah, so that challenge to me taught me a ton, right? Because I started to realize that life is so much bigger than me, and I found my faith in Jesus Christ through that really hard time. I found a higher purpose for my life. I found meaning to my life that I don't think that I would have ever found had I not gone through that. I don't think I'd be who I am today if I hadn't gone through that. Because I think that the choices I made, the depravity I lived in, I think that's what really defined my search for answers in my life. And I think that still plays out in my life today, that I still want answers. I still want truth. I still want justice for what's wrong in this world. So I think I realized something was missing when I was probably 13. I started to realize that my dad leaving when I was young, um, that he wasn't the man that I hoped he would be. And because of that, I knew that something was wrong, with the way my life was playing out, the experiences I was having. I knew that most, or at least from what I could see outside looking in to other people's lives, I think I realized that most people, or at least I thought most people, didn't grow up like me. Um, and I started to recognize how important a father is in people's lives, how important a man is in in a young man's life. I've always said this, that I don't believe that women can teach a young boy how to be a man. Um, and I realized that at 13, when my dad wasn't going to come back and he wasn't going to come pick me up, he wasn't going to come visit. He'd tell me he would and he wouldn't, right? And I realized that something was not right about how I was growing up. So I might get emotional over this. Um, Faith is the foundation of my life. Um, it's everything. It gives me meaning. It gives me purpose to every single day. It grounds me. It keeps me sane. It keeps me within the boundaries of a good moral compass. Um, it keeps love in my heart. It keeps me soft when it's easy to get hardened by what's happening in the world. Uh, it transcends like life we have here, and that I think all of us have in our heart is a desire to answer that, which is what happens after this, and that's what faith does for me. Because we're all prone to making excuses and lying. I'm like the president of that club, tempted to lie and make excuses for myself all the time as to why I didn't do something or why I didn't say something, or and I look to let myself off the hook all the time. Accountability from someone else holds our toes to the line, or if you will, hold your feet to the fire, if you will. It's somebody who won't accept the bullshit excuses we give ourselves that we'll accept and we'll let ourselves agree with. But somebody who will hold you accountable won't buy that and won't allow you to get away with that. We need that. What would I say to my 18-year-old self? I would say that uh, I would say that you're meant for more. I would say that God's got a huge plan for you. I would tell him that your life on this earth matters. I would tell him that you're loved. I would tell him that I would tell him that I would tell him that you're capable. Now tell him that you're going to be a good man.
Rifle check, pistol goes away. Getting your rifle back up. Taking 2 more final shots. Okay, and then at that point you're done. Pick up your empty mags, reconfigure, keep going. Any questions on this sequence? I personally think that a lot of men feel alone today because they don't have like a team. They don't have a group of men who they can just fall back on when things are bad, when they just need to talk, when they're down, when they're fired, when they're going through heartbreak. They don't have that best friend, but they don't even really have a small group of friends, you know, to really kind of throw their weight on and say, you know, just have somebody be there for them, whether it's just to listen or actually physically help them. And I think a lot of men feel alone these days in America because they don't have that organization. They don't have people who relate to them, right? Because we're all going through it, whether you're going through heartbreak or financial hardship, or whether you're going through a mental health kind of, you know, bump in the road. You know, it's hard to be vulnerable with men that you don't have that dynamic with, that you don't have that closeness with and that connectivity with. So it's hard for men to open up. So men do what we do best. We compartmentalize everything. We sweep stuff under the carpet. We say we're good. We put on a smile and we keep going, even though on the inside we're hurting and we need help. And most times the best type of help is to come from the men that are going through that with you. But I think that's what most men lack today, is that group of men who would understand them even at their lowest of times. For someone who's been in the military for 2 decades, I mean, brotherhood means a lot of things, but brotherhood doesn't mean that we went to war together and now we're back and somehow we survived it and we can talk about it. Brotherhood means that you have established a bond with a person or a group of men who, again, been there and done that, maybe not to the same degree, but to a degree where they can understand you and understand what you're going through. And sometimes those group of men aren't there to give you a shoulder to cry on. Sometimes those group of men are there to hold you accountable because they know your weaknesses, they know your deficiencies, and they want you to be the best version of yourself. And they will drop a hat at any moment to come help you without any questions asked. That's brotherhood. That's a very kind of watered down version of brotherhood, but in this sense of Modex, that's exactly what it means. Any one of these guys can call me at any moment at night and say, Kawa, I'm going through it. Can you just hear me out? I got you, man. I'm there for you. That in itself is a sense of brotherhood. Now, how much we develop that with family and extensive networks and other activities that we do together is really on us. But it doesn't take much for you to establish a brotherhood. It's really just the guys that will be there for you without any kind of judgment or scrutiny or really, you know, just making fun of you other than the way that men do. Good.
I thought
I'm multitasking.
Yasser, you want a bigger hand?
And drink me down.
fuck that, bro. Get mine.
Butterfly, hear what they say. Tell us all you
Seeing other men succeed and being in a community of men who are making it in their own way, overcoming the challenges. A lot of these men have overcome challenges that I probably have no idea, but just seeing us all getting along and getting together and doing these things is just, it's in itself the biggest help.
maybe you're making love.
First of all, you cannot believe how many millions, billions of other men around the world right at this moment are going through the exact same thing. And you may be alone in your life, as in you have no one in your immediate connections who you can reach out to, but you are not alone in the world. There are so many men who are going through the same struggles in very similar ways. I would also say that even in the most hopeless seeming of situations, hope is never lost. There is always a way out of a negative situation. The most powerful and supreme being, God, is capable of anything. And you have only to pray to him and do your best effort. Put in your absolute best to try to get out of it. And many miracles can happen. And I would say absolutely you are not alone. Find your brotherhood, find a network of men that you can reach out to, and you will be amazed by how just having those people in your life, those brothers, will move you, and together you guys can move mountains and lift yourself out of this despair that you're in, this impossible situation. Just find your brothers.